what's up, my people? Viwe, the brother from the ancient mother. Once again, you know, I'm sitting in this chair, in this backdrop. It's another Headspace album review. And I want to start off by saying, if you haven't subscribed, I'm really wondering why. Because the Headspace has been front and center, giving profiles to South African rap artists from every breadth and breadth of what SA is about in its different pockets. So if you have artists, favorite artists that you think are on the come up, artists that you feel have a valuable image and identity to play into what SA hip hop is becoming, plug us on the comment section and please subscribe. This is building family and community, and we want to build an extended community of African hip hop lovers who are really trying to work for the expansion of the culture on this continent at large. But let's get down to business. In South Africa in particular, there have been certain provinces who, by virtue of their unity, by virtue of their proximity to industry and capitalism, and just by virtue of their understanding of how the pop culture market works, have been able to remain in a very pivotal place in our imagination. One of those provinces is Pretoria. We're talking back from the Cap City days, when it gave us acts that had a great balance of that boom bap flair and still kind of kept it gassy to the core in narrating South African stories. PTA hip hop has lingered on to have a new generation of artists who in the trap wave are reinterpreting that same vibe of bringing authenticity in ways that have global appeal. And I'm saying this because the legends, Blak Lez and PDotO, one of the most well-known artists who cemented themselves as strong major players not only in Pretoria but in South Africa at large, people who respectively have been part of laying the foundation for how to rap, how to approach rap, and how to make music that packages and brings forth rap to the everyday listener. And they're coming together, teaming up. And you know why I think it's so powerful? Rap music in the pop scope has bred this sentiment of there can only be one king. There can only be one. There can only be one ultimate powerful rapper kind of hovering above every other rapper. And I love the fact that there are MCs who prove that to be false. There are MCs who debunk this theory and say, nah y'all, it's actually about Usebenzisana. It's actually about us relating with artists who we share the same vision with, and showing people that greatness is a collective experience. That even when we think one is great, it's only because they're surrounded by a team of people who help make them great. It's only because they're given power by fans and supporters who make them great. So I think in this GOAT conversation, we tend to forget that GOATness is something that happens as a result of this collective consciousness which lifts up one particular individual. And really what these individuals are, they are one symbol that represents a larger value and kind of person or people. So even when you see one person, say for instance a pro, and we proclaim him as the greatest of all time, it's because many of us vicariously identify with who Pro Kid was and the things he spoke for. So you know, in another way, greatest of all times means the person who embodies us. It means us through one person. So even in that sense, it's never really that person, the individual. But anyways, I love the fact that when we demystify that it can be the single, that we say it can be two, it can be a group, it can be a collective, it can be Manska, you know. And right here we have the sequel, Lost Diamonds, from the two OGs, giving us a taste of this developing relationship they have with each other, but also with how South African hip hop is evolving. Lost Diamonds 2 starts off in a place that's beautifully current. It's opened up by an intro that is sang so beautifully and delicately by Uyanachi. I didn't even know who she was, but I'm mentioning her because whoever she is, somebody give her an album, because she's able to deliver a sultry yet sensitive and sincere rendition of what the album attempts to be, which is an in-depth expose into the hearts of what these MCs have to offer right now to the people. It's experienced, packaged in forms that say, when you're growing older in a culture that emphasizes youth, it's important to bring about the value of maturity, and defining maturity not as some kind of stiff rigid moralist code that says you can't have fun, you can't let loose, you can't open yourself up to new possibilities. But that maturity, growing older, quote unquote, is really being able to take your youth and adapting it in ways that account for new responsibilities. So PDotO and Blak Lez rap more about the growing responsibilities of what it's like to be men in the phases of their life that they're in right now. They're fathers, they're people who have gone through relationships enough to kind of understand what they want. They want things that last longer, but understand that those are the things that tend to be the most difficult to find and keep and maintain. At the very same time, they're in a generation where they're seen as greats, so they're looked at as people with standards of success that should have brought them to a level where their insight and maybe their bag is really sustainable, and sometimes these things don't always corroborate. So ultimately what this is like two older brothers saying to the younger generation that, you know, adulthood isn't all it's promised to be. Growing up isn't all it's promised to be. You don't always have things coming together in the ways that you would hoped when you were in your early 20s, but it's okay because it teaches you how to reconcile with yourself as you evolve. Looking back, retrospecting at what your youth meant to you is an important way of saying what will your adulthood mean to you. It's taking from that beautiful, adventurous and restless part of your life and be able to translate it into a place that says, I need to move a little bit slower because the end of the tunnel kind of beckons, and I need to think more in terms of how to invest in the right people, in the right mindset, in the right spaces, in the right time. And this message permeates through some of the most crispiest, shiniest, sparkliest production. The name Lost Diamonds really does come to life, well, at least the diamonds part. And I guess the lost kind of indicates the fact that they might have not been truly appreciated when they were young, because South African hip-hop was in a place where it wasn't that developed, but now they can still kind of shine as elders. They can shine as mature grown men to a younger generation. They can sparkle in the same way that a diamond can sparkle because it's moved through time, because it's grown older, and because diamonds are valuable things that can only be found when you dig deep into what the soil of the past has to offer. Lost Diamonds too says to us that in going back to our past and digging into some of the most powerful moments of SA hip-hop, we can find PDotO and Blak Lez giving us nuggets of wisdom and blisteringly brilliant moments till this day. And I agree, this album sonically sounds like it starts from the crunk Lil Wayne Rick Ross era and evolves into what we now know as the trap era. There's production here which sounds a lot like what Rick Ross was doing in his glamour period, where he was inventing the idea of the boss, and it goes into now what you would have a Drake doing when he slows down and gives us ambience music that allows him to talk more openly as the Heartbreak Drake and Certified Lover Boy. And I make all those references to say that PDotO and Blak Lez position himself in kind of both lanes. They talk about love, lust, life, triumph, trials, death, you name it. They package it so beautifully in this project with features that match their caliber. They bring in their peers such as Viwe, but they also bring in young guns like the Tyson Sabatellis. So all in all, it brings about this balance of, again, what is maturity? Who let the dogs out? How can we really penetrate ourselves and evolve in times where sometimes being old is seen as being uncool? So all in all, I gotta give this one an 8 out of 10. It sonically tells a journey that literally evolves with you musically, because it goes from kind of crunk-esque to modern day trap with boom bap influences and enough space to let these OGs rap the way they know how to rap, but it stretches them in ways where they kind of also have to adapt to what's being done, and they do it in ways that are so organic. PDotO, Blak Lez feed from each other with such flair and beautiful chemistry. We all know Blak Lez has been the one with the Spitori raps that gotta make you go crazy, but PDotO has always been the kind of rapper who sticks to that safe, Americanized, twangy, boom bap-esque flow. But man, it is so breathtaking to hear PDotO feed from Blak Lez's earthier, let's go back to a township approach, and give us that East Coaster we know he still has in his DNA, because at the end of the day, this guy's from what? East London? What?
East London.
East London. Shout out to East London. So he's out here really bringing evolution and growth and both of them show us you never stop growing and evolving as MC. So for this, it's way beyond average. Matter of fact, it's quite an excellent project. Reason it kind of doesn't really go into the classic mode is there are sleepy moments. There are moments where the production, as exciting as it is to listen to, is kind of monotonous. It doesn't have enough dynamics to carry you to places that are more than just your car or your earphones or your home. It's basically a project that is mostly laid back with exciting moments. So I don't see it being big in the club, but it's a very intimate project. So if you're in your home doing whatever you like doing, if you're plugging it on your phone, just listening to it to kind of move through and groove through life as an experience, it's definitely the perfect project to listen to. If you like your lyricism in great doses. So in that way, there's a real good lane for projects that are not made for the outside experience, but real intimacy. So ultimately, 8 out of 10 from me. The OGs doing their thing, showing us that the gap from OG to young gun isn't as wide as we think it is. That even as an OG, there are parts where you still need to be taught by youth, and you are always youthful. And even these young guns have experience to bring to the OGs that can create a beautiful dialogue between what we feel is old and new, and bring us into an era where the two terms probably don't mean anything, because all we're doing is growing and evolving as life goes on. Thank you SA Hip Hop for making sure that the past remains recognized in the current moment, and I hope we have more albums like these from our more seasoned rappers. My name is VJ, the brother from the ancient mother. Lost diamonds definitely be shining, and I hope they be shining forever, ever, ever, ever. Please subscribe.